as a little boy, you know, I grew up just down the street here, back in the 50s. And this brings back such fond memories to come back to this neighborhood. I walked by this place on my way to Little League practice a million times, it seems like. And but anyway, the story that I want to share with you is you know, for a long time in my life, I sort of focused on the things that impact my life that were, you know, that messed me up. You know what I mean? Blaming this person and blaming that person and blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, you know, Max is my liver doctor, liver nurse. But anyway, and you know, I was going through some really, you know, tough times this last couple of years, and I just had this, all of a sudden I realized that it's just about sweetness, and I just started looking back and seeing all the beautiful, beautiful things and experiences that I had in my life. And it was, come on up. Welcome. And so I remember growing up just down the street here, and I went to this Catholic school, Immaculate, which is just over here. But as a kid, you know, I grew up as sort of a kid without a nation, or without a nationality. You know, my relatives were all really nice people, but because my mom was Italian Catholic and my dad was Jewish, I wasn't considered Jewish. And because my dad was Jewish, the parental thing, the lineage is passed through the father on the Italian side. So I wasn't Italian, I wasn't Jewish. I went to grade school, a Catholic school, first grade, Immaculate. And all of a sudden, the nun, the first day of first grade, she says, "Your name's Errol Isaac Hasson." She says, "That's a Jew's name." She says, "You can't have that name here." And I said, "Why?" And she said, "Well, the Jews killed Jesus." So I said, "Well, who's this in the picture up here?" And she says, "That's St. Peter." I said, "Oh, give me that name." So I took that name. But I was a person without an identity, in a sense, you know? I mean, and I let them know, too, because I was really, you know, I acted out all the time. And you know, my friends in the neighborhood, you know, it was a predominantly black neighborhood, and so I hung out with them. And when I was 9, you know, I just decided one day that I was going to become black. So I decided I'm black, and that's it. And so, you know, I strutted like a black kid, you know, and I talked like, you know, like a brother, and blah, blah, blah. But anyway, there used to be this church just around the corner from my house. And I used to sit out there on Wednesday evenings out in front in the summertime, and I'd hear the choir in there. And I'd go, "Oh my God, that is so beautiful." But I can't go in there. And then, so this went on for a few weeks, you know, and finally one Sunday, I'm out there listening to the preacher in the little storefront church, and it's shaking. The building is shaking. And I said, "Well, I can't go in there because maybe they won't accept me." And you know, my mom told me that and the nuns and priests said, "You can't go into any other kind of church because that's a sin. If you're Catholic, you can't, you know, go anywhere else." So I didn't care about that, but I cared about, you know, being rejected by my people. And so I walk into the church, and this little storefront church, and they welcomed me with open arms. It was the most beautiful, and I recognized, you know, a couple of the women in the choir were, you know, my friends' mothers, you know, and so I became a member of the choir, and it was such an enjoyable experience for me, you know, because it was like my only home away from my home. It was, I felt accepted there for just who I was. And And I used to go home so exhausted after that Sunday service that went on like for 2 hours. What happened would be, I would be sitting there, and all of a sudden, the first time I heard the preacher, he goes, "I can't help myself." And I say, "Whoa." And I said, I had no expectation of what was coming down the pipe. The next thing I know, he goes, "Early in the morning, I can't help myself. Whoa." Next thing I know, he says, he starts running like this in place. He goes, he's going like this. He goes, "I can't help myself. Can't help myself. Help myself. Early in the morning. Can't help myself. In the evening. Can't help myself. In the midnight hour. Can't help myself. Every day. Every day. I can't help myself." Yeah. This would go on for like, half an hour. And I'd go home, sweating, and I'd be walking in the house like, "Hi, Mom." And she says, "Oh, what happened?" She says, "What happened?" I says, "Oh, Mass was so long." And I'd sit there and I'd take a nap, it was like 9 bucks. I wanted a nap.